Good morning, it's Karen from Simply Living for Him. I am here to do my daily encouragement video from God's Word. I hope you find these videos a blessing. If you do, let me know. Share it with a friend. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is super sunny. I'm trying to get out of the big glare here of sun. So I wanted to do today's devotional. We're going to talk about a psalm. I'm going to read to you from a psalm. We are in the middle of a big transition of seasons in my life. And I just had this thought last night. My second oldest, my first oldest son, though, is leaving in 2 days for his school program for this year. And life is about to change. We've gone from, a busy, crazy household of 4 little ones to, a house full of teenagers to now having 2 out of the house this year, and 1 getting married. That's a whole nother season. 1 going off to school, and I'll just have 2 at home. It's a very different season. And if you're going through a season right now, whatever your change is, I just want to encourage you, because yesterday I was thinking how it's very easy for me to lament and be caught up in what was, and think about, them being little, and think about all that's behind us and all that's never going to be the same again, and all the stuff that brings tears to my eyes, right? And it's very easy. Even this morning, I walked in my son's room while he was sleeping, and even though he's 18, I look at him and I just see that little baby face still. And it's easy for us to, lament in that, or find a little bit of, sadness or melancholy or sentimentality. And I just thought to myself, that season is over and we are moving into a new season. And rather than looking in that as something sad, I got so excited. What does God have for us, in store for us in this new season? Yes, we don't have little ones anymore. Yes, our household isn't going to be quite as loud and crazy. But God has a brand new season ahead, and I want to embrace that. I want to, yes, you can feel all the emotions that come when things change, but I think it's hard for many of us to transition from season to season because, we kind of hold on for dear life to what was, instead of, running forward with excitement to what will be. And because we know God and we know His plans are perfect and His purposes for us will be fulfilled, we have 100% assurance that whatever lies ahead is exciting because it's part of God's plan. And I don't know what lies ahead for any of us, but I know that God does, and that's exciting. And I just really want to encourage you today, if you're in a time of seasons changing, and many of us are, no matter what it is, to look ahead with excitement. Don't get so stuck on, the emotions of holding on to the past that we forget we have a brand new season to go into. It says here in the Psalms, in Psalm 138, the very last verse, verse 8, and I'm reading to you. I told you guys I'd remind you when I'm reading from different translations. This is my NASB study Bible. And so I'm reading from the NASB today, Psalm 138, verse 8. The Lord will accomplish what concerns me. Let me go back. The Lord will accomplish what concerns me. Your loving kindness, O Lord, is everlasting. Do not forsake the works of your hands. So we all think about the future. We all plan for the future. And yet God already knows the future and has it all planned for us. And that is exciting. We have to remember, like many of us, when we're transitioning from seasons, because we don't know the future, our natural tendency is to be like, what's going to happen? And maybe that brings about some fear. And I think that's why we hold on so much to the past, because even if the past wasn't as rosy sometimes as we think it was, because let's face it, when we're in the little kid years, we're all like, oh, I can't wait for them to get older. As soon as they're older, we're like, oh, the little kid years are over, right? So I think sometimes just because, we got through it and we look back and we're like, because that's familiar familiar now because we went through it. We hold on to it, and that's what makes going forward so anxiety provoking sometimes, because we don't know what the future holds. But remember that all we have to do is walk forward knowing that God has already prepared our future for us, and our job is to find out what those plans and purposes are for us. And so we want God to be the center of, everything we do, and that includes our future plans. And, really focusing on, God, what do you have in store for me for this season? And I think that helps us let go of the past season a little bit more. If you continue on in the Psalms where I left off at the end of Psalm 138, you go into Psalm 139, and it talks about how God is all seeing and all knowing and all powerful and omnipresent, and he knows us. And that is such a comfort, because who wouldn't want to walk into a future knowing that there is a God who created us so intricately, so intimately, knows every single detail of our lives, and he walks with us, and he has that whole future planned out. If there's anyone who would know difficulties in seasons, it would be David, who wrote these Psalms. I was reading a Psalm earlier that he had written when he was, hiding in a cave. And I can imagine as he was hiding in that cave, not knowing what the future held, he would think, oh Lord, I just want to go back to my life as it was. I just want to be out there as a shepherd boy, tending my sheep. I don't want to be stuck here in this cave. I don't know what's going to happen. But then I think, look what God did through David's life. And then we have the Psalms, all of the things that he went through, whether it was a terrible season or a joyous season. He kept God at the center. He was a man after God's own heart. And, look at his life. We look back at David and we're like, we admire that. And he, wrote these beautiful words in many of the Psalms that minister to us today. And David went through times of, being hiding out in a cave and not knowing what the future held, but he knew who held the future. And every single detail of his life, from the time he was a shepherd boy to the time he fought Goliath to the time he was hiding out in a cave, all of those seasons mattered. All of those seasons were necessary. All of those seasons were a part of God's plan for his life. And the same holds true for us. We can look back at the times when, our kids were little. We can look back at the hard, maybe tumultuous years, and we can look forward to the future knowing that it's all part of God's plan for our life. So today, as I walk towards this new season of life, and as I have a tendency to look back and be a little sad, I am embracing the fact that we are starting a brand new season of our life, and knowing that God has a plan for that. Now, you may see a few tears from me in the next several weeks, and I will ask you to remind me, if you know me or you see me being that way, or I will remind myself of these very words today, that I'm walking into a new season, and I don't want to hold on to the past, because God has a great plan for our future and a purpose. What does God want from our family, from me and my life for this next season? So I'm actually excited about that. So I hope this encouraged you. I hope if you're in a time of seasons that this encouraged you. If it encouraged you, let me know. Pass it on to a friend who may be in a time of transition. And until the next time, I wish you all the blessings and joy in Jesus today.